Hey everybody, just wanted to share a quick video with you guys just to update you. I've sent out some reminders just to let you know. Of course, we will be doing baseline interviews this week. I hope um, that you guys have enjoyed your first semester, first week of the classes this semester. I wanted to talk about baselines because I've had students asking me about that. Uh, it's easier said than done, but try not to fret over it. Try not to be too concerned. Baseline is just that. It's the very beginning. It's the beginning way to measure your progress throughout the semester of your interviewing skills. So try not to be but so concerned about that. Um, Also, some other students have asked if they were on campus, would they be able to meet with me face to face to have a recorded interview at my office? Sure, I'm fine with that. So, if that works for you guys, then and you're able to do so, then that's great. If not, this is an online class, and we will meet as originally planned through Google Meet. So no worries about that. I've wanted to thank everyone who has signed up for Google for an appointment using the Google Doc in this week's module of Moodle. Wanted to also show that how I need for you to go back in and edit. If you have already signed up for a date and time, I need for you to go back in and edit and differentiate how we plan to meet. Like if you want to meet virtually, then just like it says here, be sure to go beside your name and put a parenthesis with a V in it for virtually. If you want to meet face to face, then go in like here and designate within the parentheses F/F for face to face. So just be sure to differentiate so I'll know exactly how we're meeting. And if we are meeting, then at a certain time, then meet me in my office in C building, C as in cat, 3003. So just let me know and I will be sure to be ready one way or another. If we are meeting through Google Meet, I will put it in my Google Calendar and I will email you a link for our appointment time where at that time, say if we're meeting at 3 o'clock on Tuesday, well, around 2:50, go ahead and click on that link and make sure that you have a connection and all of that good stuff and just be ready. Make sure that your webcam is in good working order, what have you. Test out all of your equipment in advance. Play with Google Meet in advance and then play the video back to see how it works. Well, you guys probably wouldn't record it, but test it out with a friend and see how it works for you. I did that the first time I did it with my son. He was in another part of the house, and we did a Google Meet just to play with it. It's been a few years ago now, and see how it worked. So anyway, that way you can kind of iron out any glitches beforehand. I also posted some updated PowerPoint slides just to hit the highlights of what we would be covering in Chapter 1 this week. So if you take a look at those, you'll see how it covers a lot of different things, and I'm not going to review every slide with you. Take a look at these in your as you're able to do so. I just wanted to kind of hit the highlights of a few things. This chapter really focuses on the difference between counseling and psychotherapy and interviewing, and they are all unique, but they do overlap in some forms. Counseling is really for more intense and personal than interviewing, and psychotherapy is even more intense than counseling. And like I said, there can be some overlap in all three of these. Some other things that I wanted to focus on, if you look in your text and at the cover and within Chapter 1, you'll see this picture or image of a pyramid. And I like the way that this text does a really nice job of layering everything, of how one skill builds a foundation on another and another and another. And that's how we are going to operate. These layers that I was referring to, that's really micro skills. It starts out with multicultural competence, ethics, neuroscience, and so forth, and then moves on to attending, empathy, and observation, then questions, then encouraging, paraphrasing, summarizing, observing, and reflecting feelings. And those, all of those, minus the multicultural piece, they all comprise what we know as BLS, or the basic listening sequence. So I love the way, and it will continue to progress from there. And ultimately, you get to the top where it's about determining your personal style, because everybody has a certain way that they do things. And while this is there's the textbook approach, but then you're going to implement it and make it your own, as you should, because no one's a robot, and people don't really want to talk to robots. So, what I was just talking about, the micro skills. The micro skills approach is a 5-step model for micro skill development. Where you define the skill, the central features, and the purpose. You observe the skill in action, and then you learn the skill and its implications, and then you practice the skill and role play. So those layers that we were referring to. Oh, and then you plan for generalization. How are you going to make it your own? So these different skills. It's one thing to read about a skill. It's one thing to read about the skill of questioning in a book. It's a whole nother to actually do it in a role play. And the best way to really, really get a good handle of these concepts in our text each week is to apply them and make them, role play them, apply them in your personal life. That's the only way that you're going to get better. And you might feel that you're an excellent interviewer, and you might feel like, oh gosh, this makes me so nervous. I don't know, I can do this. But you've got to really have feedback from others, constructive criticism to see where your strengths are and where are your needs. What are things that you need to work on? And that is the purpose of beginning with these baseline and the practice lab work that we'll have along the way. All right, just skipping ahead a little bit, some other things that I wanted to touch on. I want you to, again, review these slides as you're able to. Another area that we're going to talk about this week is how is interviewing both like a science and an art form. Just like I was saying, not everyone is coming to the table with the same skill set. There is, for some people, it's a natural gift. It's just a knack they have in interviewing. And, just like art, for example, I am not an artist and don't ever claim to be. I have people in my family that do a beautiful job and have never, ever taken an art class, but they just have that natural knack. Well, does that mean that I can't learn and I can't get better at it? No. I did take a class when I was in school, and I got better. I'm not great. I'm not Picasso. I'm not Van Gogh. Don't even claim it. But I did learn some basic skills to get better. And the same is true with interviewing. So, while there are different, talents and abilities, there is room for growth from everyone. So, how is it like a science? Well, I think that we've all had experiences where we have been in conversations with people and we didn't really feel like we were being heard. They didn't listen to us. We didn't feel like they were really present or with us. And that's awful. It's a terrible feeling. And for a long time I thought that was just a one-sided thing, that maybe it was just me that felt bad because I wasn't heard. But our text says otherwise. Our text goes on to say that when two people, an interviewer or an interviewee, are in an interview and they are attending, then both of their brains actually light up. Science shows that, and I think it's and imaging shows that their brains actually light up from attending when one is being heard and one is listening. I think that is powerful, and that demonstrates how interviewing really is a science. I tell my students each semester the same thing. We have, 2 ears and 1 mouth, and that is no mistake. We should listen twice much as we speak. People think interviewing is about asking the right questions. Partly, yes, but really it's about asking the right questions to decrease your talk time as the interviewer and increase the client talk time. We should listen twice as much as we speak. Another little fun fact for you, if you take the word listen, it includes, you'll note, it includes the same letters as the word silent. If you never knew that, now you do. So it's so hard because we might want to jump in and give advice, but that's not what we're here for. In fact, jumping in and giving advice is the exact opposite of what you should do. In human services and the helping profession, we are not in the advice giving business. Let's leave that for dear Abby, because that's not what we do. It's unethical, and it can really, really sabotage the helping relationship, especially if your advice is not, doesn't go well for them. So remember those things. Another helpful hint for you is when you are working with, when you're practicing your interviews, remember to take the time to try to get to know the person first. You can't just jump right in and fix something. You have to build the relationship. There has to be trust there to a certain degree. And how does that happen? Just by asking the right questions about them. Icebreakers. How's the weather? I mean, really anything like that. But you have to develop a certain level of trust. So anyway, I wanted just to, like I said, leave this brief video. One more thing before I go. Where do clients meet? Clients meet in a variety of places. Sometimes you meet in an office, but in my experience, that wasn't really, the prime meeting spot for us. For me, I was meeting my clients wherever they were, wherever I could meet them, whether it be, most of the time it was in their homes, their job sites, school, at therapy appointments, whatever it might be. I would say that the majority, because I was working with kids a lot, my kids, I would interview them most of the time in the car. Something about being on a road trip or in the car that they just open up. I think it's because if they're riding with you, they're not having to look directly at you, and it's less intimidating, and people are more free. If you've ever been on a road trip with somebody, you really get to know that person by the end of that trip. And I think the same is true with kids. With my younger kids, it could be in the car, it could be me playing with them, coloring with them, whatever it might be. So you meet your clients exactly where they are, and it's really as determined by your agency too. You have to keep some things in mind. In your office, you want to make sure that it's a safe environment for furniture placement, and making sure that the atmosphere is accommodating, is appealing, and so forth. So just some things to remember, and this is kind of like the quick and dirty of chapter 1 and preparing for your baseline appointment. So I hope you guys have a great week and take care.